resources to skill you up to help you meet your desired goals. Our job at Asham Academy is to empower you to be successful at every stage of the learning journey, from training to certification to establishing professional credibility. As a certified learning partner and authorized testing center, our facility has proven to be one of the best in the country as we get to reach the needs of all ages, young, middle-aged, and those in the advancing years, making learning simple and affordable. We care about your skill development, and without breaking the bank, we present you with great opportunities to showcase your competency and expertise in your area of specialty, aiding career advancement or personal goals tracking.
Please, can everyone hear me? All right. Good evening, men and women of the cloud. Hope we're all good. Hope we had an amazing day. And even if you didn't have an amazing day, your day is about to get better with this refreshing presentation. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm actually very excited today because our speaker today is a speaker like no other. This is the first famous speaker on our series, and she's definitely coming with a lot of incredible things. So, ladies and gentlemen, with no further ado, join me in welcoming an IT engineer. She is driven by the passion for technology, and she has diverse knowledge in cybersecurity, where her interest is focused on penetration testing. She's so excited to embrace new challenges and innovation in the digital space. In that space, she has been improving her skills in information technology and also interacting with technical and non-technical clients has made her understand all she knows as an IT engineer. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming our speaker, Temitope Bankole. I'm sure you're coming wherever you are because I'm for the presentation today.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Mimi. I really appreciate. Thank you for the introduction, though. I
You're
hope I'm
welcome.
audible now. Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for joining this session. And yes, good evening, Chioma. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I can see everybody. Good evening, Nathan. Like I said, my name is Temitope Bankole, and I'll be the speaker for today. And what we'll be looking about is the security in S3. So I think I'll just make it as much as interaction just to give us a better understanding of whatever we're going to learn. And I won't kind of assume that we all, because I don't want to assume that we all know what S3 is, just to give us a deeper and a deeper knowledge whereby we don't just want to assume, but we know that, okay, this is it, but it's just more like we're coming in as a fresher, or like, do you get to understand? Just to make us have a good interacting section. So if you have any question, you can drop it on the chat while I go on with this. Sorry. So basically, I'll be looking into security in S3. What I want to do is we'll go through an overview of S3, what an S3 is before we jump into the security. Because what I believe is that you can't just jump into something you don't understand. It's just like you building a house without even you knowing the architecture of whatever you want to build. So it's just to give you a grasp of what an S3 is. So just bear with me since I'm going to go through an overview of what an S3 is. And we're going to go through the classes of storage we have in S3 just to understand what we are trying to secure. Since we're trying to talk about security. So we're just trying to do interchanging. Okay, so so like I said, we'll be looking at overview of what an S3 is. So on this slide, basically, it's talking about what an S3 is. So on this slide, it's saying S3 is a simple storage service, is an object storage service. So basically, when you hear S3, so we have different storage service in AWS, whereby we have the block storage, but for S3, we're talking about a object storage. And what makes it an object storage is that we have a bucket and we have an object. So when you hear a bucket in the cloud, just to give you a simple terminology and just to give you that understanding. So it's not really, how would I say, it's not really a difficult thing to understand that, oh, what a bucket and what an object. So basically what a bucket is just a folder and a file in it. So basically, when your system, you have some files that are saved onto your system, and yes, some of your files are inside the folder. So basically, in the cloud, what your folder means is the bucket, and the object that is stored inside the bucket basically means the files. So it's just a simple term. Just understand that your bucket is your folder and your objects are your files. So I start saying that files are stored as objects, like I said, within the bucket, which is a folder. And in this storage whereby it provides availability, security, and scalability. So basically, you don't have to worry about your file being scalable, or you have to worry about some availability. So all these are being inbuilt when it comes to S3, or you're trying to save your files and things like that. Yes. So, and also you can use it to host a static website, store files, archives. Well, it depends on your specific use case actually. And also, this kind of storage is not really suitable for a dynamic data, like both files, hosting, like your operating system, website that requires data connection. So what this paragraph means basically is that you can't store a website that needs a dynamic interaction whereby you need to constantly request it for a particular file. Is mostly suitable for static websites, yes. basically is most. So you can host your static website that you know that, oh, you just want this website to be static. It does not really need any interaction. Just upload your HTML, CSS, and honestly, you're good to go. And also this storage, you can also your basically the files that you can save on this storage is you can your file can be like up to 5 terabytes. So from 0 byte to all the way to 5 terabytes, you can that your file size can be there. And also, you can save as much as unlimited files in the storage. So it doesn't have to be limited, but when it comes to the terms of the file size, you can store all the way from 0 terabytes to 5 terabytes. So basically, I'll also be diving into the story classes that we have when it comes to S3 rather. And why I'm really trying to go through that part is just to give us a grasp and understanding of whatever we want to secure. So you know what you need to do and what needs to be protected in terms of, oh, okay, I have a file in S3. What are the things I can leverage on in the cloud, and what are the tools I can leverage on? So I'll be moving to the story class. And sorry, please give me some seconds. Sorry, please hold on. Basically, how I'll be talking. So we have different story classes in that S3 offers. So we have like a wide range of classes that you can use when it comes to your storage in the cloud. So we have, I think we have about like 5 or 6 thereabouts. So I'm just going to give you the brief understanding of what each storage is and what their kind of like a use case. Well, sometimes it depends on your use case because you know what you want, you know uh, what you want to achieve basically. So I'll be talking about the first one is standard frequent access. So this story class is the default option within Amazon S3 and is specifically for data that experience frequent access. So basically what this storage is for is it saves files that you know that you frequently access, that you know from time to time this data are being accessed, where like okay, you're an organization, or yes, let me say an organization whereby you know that everybody, your finance department use these files daily. So you can save those files in this storage class. So in fact, is this is where the scalability steps in, whereby so whenever you're storing any files in this storage class, automatically Amazon help you distribute it all the way to 3 availability zones. So you don't have to worry about high redundancy when it comes to availability. So you know that your file are being distributed into multiple facilities, so you don't really have to worry about that. So well, like I said, that it depends on your use case, you know that. So you already know that these are the things I need to store in each every one of this part. And so also we have infrequent access. So infrequent access is an opposite of the frequent access. So basically, infrequent access is files that you know that you don't really access more often, but you need a rapid access in the sense that, or when you request for this, you want to get a swift feedback whenever you're trying to call your story, like your files, like that. So it says this is used for data that is accessed less frequently but requires rapid access when needed. And it's 99.999 highly available. So to know how much availability you have. So when it comes to scalability, because that's what you're trying to consider whenever you're trying to build yes, when you're trying to build. So we also have one zone infrequent access. So what this is kind of different is that this is different in sense that this file is just stored in one availability zone. So I don't think you want to you want to save some of your important files in this kind of storage, whereby because when one zone is down, you don't want to you don't want to lose your files. You don't want because you're trying to build with scalability in mind. You're trying to build with availability that when your client is trying to access your file, they get it as swift as possible. So you're trying to consider a lot of things. So, but it's okay that you can use this part of storage whenever you're saving file, but it's not really advisable for saving critical data, like data that are critical because these are mainly stored. Like you don't want to lose your files in the process. And we also have intelligent tiering, whereby so what intelligent tiering is does that it monitors the pattern of your storage of your file rather. Basically, what it does that it has a machine learning inbuilt whereby it monitors how much often you access a file. So it kind of give you a cost effective. So it's kind of a little bit cost effective. So it automatically moves your data to the most cost effective tiers based on how frequently you access your data. So it's really when you're having like, oh, I want to be cost effective when it comes to my building and things like that. So I feel like you should think about intelligent tiering. So you don't want to lose all your money when it comes to oh I'm building and you just want to have it in mind that I'm building based on cost, I'm building based on availability and scalability. So you already know what you have in your mind, what you want to build. So it's very advisable to just look at all this critically and know what you're trying to achieve in whatever you're building. Well, like, okay, if I'm building, I want to build when it comes to what is the cost wise of my storage and how available are my data when it comes to people requesting for it, where how much is I don't want my data to go down and things like that. Okay, yeah, I think I moved to intelligence area. Okay, so another thing we have glacier. So glacier is when you hear glacier, just think of archive. So you know that anywhere you hear glacier, S3 glacier, just think of an archive. So it allows you to store data. So we have basically we have different glacier use case. And also this also applies to your use case basically. So we have three different glacier use. Yes, three glacier. Yeah, so we have the glacier instance, the flexible, and the deep archive. So these are different also. So I'll first just give an overall of what an instance is. So this is an app for an instance retriever. It's basically an archiving data storage for S3. So it provides a long-term archiving with an instant retrieval time for your data. So also, what this basically means is that you need to store some data. We know archiving is basically mean like the normal English of archiving is you are storing a data whereby you want to store for a long period of time. It's just more like a backup. Would I say backup? I think it's just you want to save your file in a safe place whereby you don't want to touch it for a particular time and things like that. So, but you needed an instant retriever at some point whenever you need the data. So I think Glacier Instant is really good. So it's best to always review all this just to know have the better understanding of what you want to do and what you're trying to achieve. So for flexible, like the word flexible, we should even have the idea that this kind of glacier is this kind of archive is a little bit flexible. So this is ideal story for archive data that does not require an immediate access, but need the flexibility to retrieve large set of data. So basically, it's more like it's still a little bit closer to glacial instant, but more ideal in the sense that it's flexible One, it allows you to retrieve a very large amount of data at an instance. And also it says it can be used for backup or disaster recovery use case. So what you're thinking about is that, oh, I want to build right now. Do I need flexibility in my data sets? How much data am I trying to pull at a particular instance? So just to have that understanding that, okay, this is what I need, this is what I don't need. So also for Glacier Deep Archive, the story class is tailored for customers who want their data to retain for a long period of time. You want your data to be like 10 to 7 years or more. So this kind of storage is very good in the sense that you need compliance, regulatory based on some, because there are some locations whereby data does not leave the country. I think there's some countries that your data can't leave your country, so it has to be within the country. So you know that this is the situation of things. So I feel like this might be the best use case when you're trying to comply with compliance regulatory requirements. And but this kind of storage class is kind of a little bit like, so whenever you're trying to retrieve a data at that time, it takes 12 hours. That's the standard time. But if you're trying to retrieve a bulk data at a point, it takes 48 hours to retrieve. So you already know that, oh, what am I thinking of? Is it, am I trying to save my data for up to a long time that I don't even want to get access to, or I'm just trying to save for a particular sum of time. I want it to be flexible, or I want to retrieve it at an instant point in time. So basically, it depends on your use case. So sometimes I always be like, it's better you have a well, if it's a biro and a paper, just have a sketch out of what you want, what you intend on doing. So you have to think of cost, you have to think of how flexible it is, the scalability, you have to think of how available your data is going to be. So I don't think you want people to come and request for a particular data and it's not, well, there are some data that you don't want it to be easily accessed. That's why I said earlier that it really depends on your use case. So next, we go now deep diving. So basically what I did was just to give you an overview of what we might be going through. So you can also read more about story classes. I'm very sure you have a lot of documents that would surely help you just to give you a better understanding of all this. Well, it gives more extensive of what it is. So you get to grasp more knowledge about it. So I'll be going to the security parts of X3 and uh, yeah, so yes, we're going to security part of X3, and as we all know, S3, like Amazon itself, S3, they provide a number of security features to consider as you develop and you implement your whole security policy. So you are building, and you know that you need to. So at this time of age that we are right now, security is not an option. Security is the business, whereby you are building. You don't want any breach, you don't want anything that is not meant to be accessed to the public, you don't want it out. So you know that this particular information should be the one to be out and things like that. So security is not like an option. Basically, I always say that security is now the business, because you can't tell me you are building and you don't have any security in consideration, whereby, oh, I'm building an application, I'm building an infrastructure, but there are no security in place. So what is the point? Because if any form of attack comes in into whatsoever you are building, you get to lose. It's just more like, if, for instance, it's even Cisco as a network company, if I don't think they want to allow anyhow person to just penetrate into their how would I say it, their environment, whereby, because for that kind of company, I don't think everyone should take security as a small thing. So security is mainly basically like a business. it's the paramount right now because the way digital is like, so it's just something we have to consider. So basically AWS S3, they offer different security where you can utilize and leverage on your S3 bucket. So first thing we'll be looking at object lifecycle management. So basically what this is it talks about moving your objects between different storage classes. Like I said, okay, you might think, oh, it does not apply to security. Yes, it applies because sure, because it applies in the sense that you want to delete files that you're not using at some point. You don't want it just to be lying around. So you use object lifecycle policy to automate delete of files or transition object to another storage classes because you're thinking of cost, you're thinking of security, you're thinking of scalability. You don't just want to save files that you're not, that's just lying around. So it really helps you in terms of giving you a transition into other storage classes. So some of the classes that I mentioned earlier. So when you activate object lifecycle on your X3 bucket, you get to have a transition that, oh, when this file is not accessed in the next 30 days, after 30 days, transition to a lower storage class. So also it's giving you a cost saving in whatever you are trying to like, it's giving you a cost saving at that point in time. And also so you already know that, oh, at this time, I need to configure that at this also time, if this data are not being accessed, transition into another lower storage class, or it because you're trying to save some cost, honestly, because basically object lifecycle is mainly talking about cost and yeah, it's mainly talking about cost. And also I'll be going into S3 versioning. So S3 versioning is really, really kind of important when it comes to your objects. This feature basically enables you to create various versions of your object to avoid against accidental deletion, which is particularly crucial to prevent loss of important objects. So what versioning does basically is that you tend to have a version of the object that you have uploaded into your bucket. So for instance, you upload a file of index.html or some other files or like a JPEG. If versioning is not enabled, if it's accidentally deleted, you get to lose or you can't retrieve it. That's gone. It's gone. But this is where versioning comes in when it comes to security. That if it's mistakenly deleted, you get to retrieve your like your lost file before. So it's really, really very important when you enable this, enable versioning in your bucket, yes. So your object won't accidentally get deleted. Weave is accidentally because anyone is not above mistake, so it can be deleted by anyone. So you tend to enable versioning for your S3 buckets just to track changes and recover any accidental delete or change. And also, you can also leverage on other tools in AWS where it helps you to monitor the users that just keep track of the users that has access to your S3. So I think you can leverage on CloudTree to log all API action that is related to your S3 bucket. So basically, any API that is being called to your S3. So one thing that I think I want everyone of us to understand is that anything that is done on AWS, everything is an API call, irrespective of how the service is, everything is an API call. So there are other tools that you can use to leverage all this that, oh, okay, I can use CloudTree to monitor any logs or any logs like API that is being pointing to my S3 that is requesting my S3 bucket. So it's basically what this does is really gives you that visibility into whosoever is accessing your bucket because you might have a large organization whereby you have different segments. You have the developer group, the finance group, you have the engineering group, so it like depend. So you don't want to give everybody access to a particular folder. You can't see someone in finance department should have access to a code or a GitHub repo of a developer. That I don't think that makes sense. So you have to know that versioning really helps you when you like tracking, and it really like you just well I think yeah is I think every version, I think it costs a yes, there's a cost to it, amount of version you do on the cloud. But you already know that when you don't want to turn versioning for every of your buckets. You know that this particular bucket is important, and enabling versioning would really help in the sense that I need to keep this object safe. I don't want it to get deleted and things like that. So moving further, also we'll be talking about replication. So basically what replication does is like it allows you to replicate your bucket into another region. So this is called cross-region resource sharing. So whenever you hear cross-region resource sharing is basically talking about S3 replication. So if your S3 bucket hosts content that should be accessible from web browser, like your static web, you can just configure CORS, that's a cross-region replication, just to control which domain that needs to access these resources. That, oh, you want people from Egypt to access this. I don't want people from Israel to access this. It's just based on whatever your preference is, basically. And also, so it's just more that, oh, I want my data to be replicated on this part of the region. I don't want it to be replicated on this domain. It's just based on your whole use case. And also, we'll be talking about object lock. So object lock is basically more of like object level. It's not a bucket level whereby you get to lock your objects individually. So there's a model where we call write once, read many, whereby you can write once into the bucket, but you can read as many as possible. So object lock basically locks your objects without allowing any modification or any accidental deletes. So it really helps you when it comes to regulatory compliance, data governance, and data protection. And in object lock, we have two mode. We have the governance mode and the compliance mode. So basically, the two mode gives us a better understanding of what an object is. Object lock rather is because basically this is more, you don't want every of your objects to be locked. So for governance mode, in this mode, you can specify a retention policy for your object whereby they can be removed by user who has appropriate permission. So me as a user, if I have the appropriate permission, to remove, to touch that file or to make any modification. If a appropriate permission is being assigned to me, I will be able to modify this. But if I'm not given that permission, like a policy, then I won't be able to touch that object. But in terms of compliance mode, this is well different in the sense that this mode is locked, is locked for a long. If you can put a retention period, but if the retention period does not expire, you cannot modify or delete it. So you know that, oh, I don't want this object to be modified by any user, irrespective of me who even created it. So even though I have the appropriate permission, but it's on the compliance mode, I won't be able to delete it. So even like a user that has a full S3 permission, I won't be able to delete it or modify it because it's already on compliance mode, whereby on the governance mode is kind of a little bit different, whereby if I have permission as a user, I can still modify it and things like that. So you already know that, oh, I don't want this particular file to be tampered with. I don't want it to be touched and things like that. So you can also put a retention period on your object whereby you can put like, oh, I want my this retention period for like from January to December. So you can put a retention period for your objects, specifically how long they must retain, okay, from 1st of January to 31st of December. So basically, these objects will not be deleted until the retention period expires. So you get to have at the back of your mind, you know that your data is already on retention period. So basically, you can go back to your house and rest that, oh, this data already has a retention period on it. No one can modify or delete it because I don't want it to be tampered with. I'm considerate of security and things like that. You can also put a legal hold, and in addition to retention period, you can place an object on legal hold whereby objects under legal hold cannot be deleted or modified unless the object is removed, regardless of the retention period. So on this part, even though you put a retention period of from January to December, as long as there's a legal hold on that bucket, on that object, it can't be removed. It can't be removed or deleted unless you remove the legal hold that is being placed on it. So you tend to understand that this is what I need this particular data to be. I want it to be from this so time, then from this period of time, I can access it. So it's still basically more like depends on your use case of what you want to do. So there are different kind of security features where you can leverage on. And also we also have a glacial vault. So what glacial vault does is if you can remember the glacier class that I talked about, I was talking about that it's an archive. So what glacial vote does is that it locks each vote individually. So it allows you to easily deploy and enforce compliance control for individual S3 glacial votes with a vote lock policy. So you can specify controls such as warm, like the way we did for object lock. Object lock also has a warm model that read once and no, oh yes, write once and read many, yes. And so in this vote policy and log policy from the future, so basically any modification that wants to be done on this for like right now or in future, basically it does it better in the sense that you want your vote to be locked, you don't want it to, or you don't want anything to tamper with it. And if it's checked, as like says that once this is locked, the policy cannot be changed. So you don't want you're storing a long time data and it's an archive. You don't want anything to tamper with it, which you're very sure. Or you have customers' details that you want to stay for a long time. You don't want anyone to tamper with it in the sense that at this point in time it's being tampered with because you're trying to enforce compliance and you're trying to put, how do I say, you're trying to save this from being tampered with. So, like I said, you're trying to put security in this thing. So it's better you know that, oh, at this time I want a retention period on this particular object, or I want a legal hold, or I want an object log, or and on my glacier. So for glacier vote is specifically for glacier storage specifically. So if your data are there, you can just lock it with like that forever and things like that. And also we'll now be talking about access management. This is what we're diving into AIM, identity access management and things like that. So there are various methods and approach to enhance security when it comes to X3. So this approach helps you in controlling access to your bucket and objects. So we have an object level security, we have the bucket level security. And also by default in S3, that's why it's really like sometimes when you're trying to do your configuration, just try as much as possible to be cognizant of every steps that you take. So by default, S3 buckets and their objects are set to private unless you want it to be accessible from public, or now you deploy, how would I say it? You create an S3 bucket and you uploaded an object into the bucket. You don't want everybody to have access to it, like the public. You don't want, oh, when I send URL to someone, I want this person is going to view it and things like that. So you get it, you tend to have control over it. So basically, automatically S3 AWS blocked for you. So unless you know that, oh, I want these pictures to be viewed on the internet and things like that. So I said I will be talking about the AIM, which is the identity access management. So basically, let me not say we all know. Let me just say we don't know because I don't want to assume. So what access identity access management means is basically a user in the cloud. So what this service helps you to do, like, it allows you to securely control access to your resources, including your S3. So any resources on your cloud, you tend to have control over it when it comes to you're trying to use an identity access management. And also, like I said, that by default, your public access is being denied, is being blocked unless you want it. So basically, this feature allows you to deny any public access to your S3. It does not allow public to have access to whatever whatsoever you have in your bucket unless you want it to be public. So it is recommended also for security purpose. It is recommended that it's being blocked unless you want it to be public, or it depends on your use case actually. So and also you can use monitoring and alerts that you can. There are other tools on AWS that you can leverage on, whereby you can use CloudWatch alarm to monitor S3 buckets, such as the numbers of requests, data transfer, error rate, that regards to your S3. And also you can configure alerts to notify your DevOps teams for any suspicious activities or performance issue. So you don't want anyone to just tamper it without you being noticed. So when you're trying to consider these things like, oh, I'm considering monitoring, I'm considering or restricted access, I'm using my IAM to control access to whosoever has permission. You just don't want to give everybody permission to your bucket. Like I said earlier, that you don't want someone in the finance department to have permission to your Git repo. Like they are not they are not together. So this is where it's now coming all the way to you implementing list privilege. You don't want to give access to everybody in a company. You don't want to give, for instance, a restaurant. You don't want to give a cleaner and access to the cashier box, because like how does that correlate? So you have to implement list privilege. You ensure that each user or roles accessing the bucket or object has minimum permission required to perform their tasks. So you don't want to give them full permission. You don't want to give someone in the cashier full permission to your S3. Just give them the permission to view a particular file. I don't want you to view all the old objects in my bucket. So this is where you're putting on list privilege. And also you can also put a bucket policy where you put a policy attached to your bucket. So this policy is basically like an JSON document where you can attach to your bucket. So it allows you to authenticate and authorize who needs to have access to this. So list privilege and bucket policy are kind of interchanging, whereby inside your policy you want to give a list privilege to people who are meant to have access to your user and things like that. So I feel like everything is kind of interchanging, whereby honestly you have to use most of all these things, because when you know that, you're trying to keep a lot of things safe. And also, this now kind of like a little bit drill down onto the access control list. So for bucket policy is mainly on a bucket level security. It's not an object level security. But for ACL is an object level security. So ACL works on the object level of your bucket, whereby you have S3 control access to your bucket. You enable or disable your object to be accessed by someone else. So policy is an bucket level, while access control list is on the object level. So kind of differentiate it, if that would work. Bucket policies for the object level, while ACL is for the object level where you're trying to give a particular user an access. Well, it's not really advisable when you're doing that, because you have to be careful whenever you're trying to turn on ACL and things like that. Well, it depends on your use case actually. You know what you want to use it for, but it's really not really advisable to do that. It's better you put policy on the bucket itself, so you get a full understanding of what's like a full control rather. So this is still mainly like talking about bucket ownership, whereby the slide, it says is a bucket level setting that you can use to both control ownership of your bucket that are uploaded to your bucket. So you tend to control who owns the bucket. As me, as I'm creating a bucket, I tend to control who, since me as the owner, I want to be the only one who can modify who has access to this. So, and by default, object ownership is set to the bucket owner. So by default, if I'm creating a bucket in S3, I'll be the owner, irrespective, as long as I'm the one creating it. And if you try to create your S3, yes, it automatically, even by default, ACLs are disabled. So I advise that you should read more on ACL just to give you the different security we have with it. And also, we can use this policy to control all objects in your bucket, regardless of who uploaded the bucket, the object to your bucket. So when ACLs are disabled, access control for your data is based on policy. Like I said, it's best you put policy on your bucket level instead of individual objects. So you don't want to be going to objects one by one and be enabling ACL, whereby it might be a little bit dangerous in the sense that you don't know which, you might get confused in the sense that you might think, oh, yeah, I know which one to open up for access to other user, but I feel like it's best you put the policy on the bucket. So you can leverage on the high-end user policy, bucket policy, your VPC, that's the virtual private cloud endpoint policy. You can even use the organization service control policy, whereby it controls everything in your organization. So I feel like the best practice should be on the bucket level, not on the object level, because you tend to have more control of it than you doing an ACL and things like that. So so basically, I'll now be diving into encryption part of this whole thing that we've been saying and things like that. So we have different encryption when it comes to S3. We have encryption in transit, at rest, and even on the bucket policy. So for encryption in transit, we all know that whenever I'm very sure that we all know that whenever there's an application that has HTTPS, it's more secure, and SSL, so they are more kind of a little bit guaranteed that this is secure. And when we talk about encryption at rest, we have three. We have, so AWS, like S3 offers three encryption when it comes to encryption at rest. We have encryption on the server side for S3 managed keys, whereby this is managed, the keys are managed by AWS S3 itself. So by default, you get like all your objects are encrypted by default, even though without you configuring it. So by default, AWS use server-side encryption S3 to put your objects safe. So also you can also leverage on the server-side encryption key with KMS, that's a key management service that is being managed by KMS. Also, you can also provide your own key to encrypt your object before sending it to S3. So you encrypt before sending, if that makes sense. So you have different options based on what you want to use, what you want. Okay, I have my encryption enforced on transit and also at rest. And also you can also create a bucket policy, whereby the bucket policy must include these particular parameters where it says XAMZ server-side encryption. If this is included on your put request, that, oh, any user that's imputing anything into the bucket, they must have this particular parameter. If this parameter does not include, do not save into the bucket. So it's really very good when you're trying to control encryption, in the sense that you know that every policy, every policy that does not include this will be denied. Any put request rather will be denied. So if this parameter is not included on the header of the request, it won't go through, whereby you want to just keep your things safe. You want your encryption, you want an encryption on the bucket on your object. So you tend to know that I want a policy whereby this needs to be included on the put request. That if any put request is coming to the bucket, it needs to be included. So also, I think this is the last but not the least. So like monitoring and alerts. So that's what I was saying, like you can leverage on CloudWatch Alarm to monitor your S3 metrics, such as numbers of requests, data transfer, and error rates. Sorry, I might be a little bit expressing, but it's fine. So you can configure alerts to notify your DevOps team for any suspicious activities or performance issues. So you just keep your DevOps team alert and know whatsoever is going on in your S3 environment. And also you can integrate security check into your CI/CD pipeline. So tools like AWS Config that does your auditing assessments, you can leverage on that. You can leverage on Security Hub that do a centralized alert for you, and also you can use a third-party solution that can help you automate security access because you're dealing with security. You don't want to leverage on only one thing. You're leveraging every possible thing that's just going to keep you secure at that time. And also you can, so whenever you're trying, you're building, you also have it in mind that you want to do a backup and disaster recovery, that you don't want that any down for or any breach, you want to have your data back, even though this is being lost at some point. So you want to implement big backup and disaster recovery strategy to your S3 bucket just to ensure availability. So you're trying to consider a lot of things when it comes to all these aspects. So I feel like leveraging on these things like monitoring, you want to do a security check. In fact, if it's week daily security check, you want to do that. You want to have backup and disaster recovery on your S3. So all these things, I feel like it's better we just leverage on this. And also, I imputed some like link that you can read more and just do more of your findings. I guess you understand why these are very important. In fact, we might be seeing S3 as, oh, S3 is just an objects storage, but it's very, very important when you know that you're trying to consider these things. Okay, so basically, I think I'm at the end of my session, but it would be nice if you have any question before we start any other thing. So you can just go through the documents, reference them, and read more about ACLs, object ownership, and MFA and versioning and the likes. Just read more about it. It gives you better understanding. And also it's very advisable when you take read documentation because it really give you like an extensive understanding of what is. Yes, you can get a copy of the slide. I think, yeah, I think so. I think so. I think you can get that. I think so. I think Mimi should see that. Oh yeah, yeah, you can do that, but I kind of like have issue with. I would have done a practical class, but with the time constraint and also I have issue with my environment, so that's why I couldn't play along with the AWS, like the console. Apologies for that. I'm so sorry about that. Oh, I think I don't know. I'm not sure this slide can be shared. I'm so sorry. I don't know if this slide can be shared, but I'll just try as much as possible to just answer. Okay. Let me just answer before we start because we just have a quiz session the way by you can answer some question and things like that. So Brian says, this is interesting as I had to include compliance support with AWS solution control and retention had to be discussed and implementation along with managing life cycle of stored document. Well, yes, I agreed honestly because you have to take control of what like the retention and you know how you want to be implemented. Okay, so basically this slide can be shared up, unfortunately, but the recording session will be available where you can watch over and over and over again. So I'm thinking I don't want to miss if I have any other question here. So the video will be available. Yes. It says, uh, okay, Golden said, I don't know if I really get your question, Goldie Sexy. You said, all using real life scenario can really help, or like the election results, such as could be locked or retention period. I'm very sure maybe I understand what you said, maybe in terms of using retention period or something like that, but I don't really get that question well enough. Maybe you can give a deeper understanding of what you're saying. So also I think okay, I think someone else has a question about AWS security advisories. So yes, so basically what you're trying to do at that point in time is that you're trying to the necessary things and privacy that needs to be done on your AWS, how would I say it, environment where you know that you like, it's just, so what advisory basically is just, it provides you that recommendation of what are the best practices that you need to implement. So I think at this point, I think my moderator will be the one to take off the session. That's fine. So don't worry, I can answer every other questions, and I'll be handing over to Mimi. So Mimi, are you there? So it's just like an interaction. Hello, Mimi. Can you hear us? Hi, Mimi. Nathan, I don't know if I answered the question correctly, but Mimi, I can't hear you. Am I the only one who can hear? Okay, so I think while waiting for Mimi, I think I can just use the opportunity to answer questions. Okay, so what is the best way to store medical patient-related data for medical research? I think basically you can do that whereby you're storing, you know that these data are very critical and you don't want anyone to tamper with it. You want to put, you want, honestly, if you're putting it on an archive, you can you're trying to secure it because these are very important information whereby these are patients related data you don't even want to tamper with even though while doing your research. So I feel like using glacial vaults, uh, leveraging on the retention period, legal hold can really give you a grasp understanding that this needs to be taken care of or this thing needs to be secure, because I don't think any data is small. Any data should be important as long as even you're trying to deal with human data. I'm sorry.
Hello, guys. Good evening, and thank you for your section, Temitope.
Exactly.
So it's time to thank you for that fantastic presentation, and I hope everyone all had a good assessment of Temitope's presentation. And we are going to be jumping right away to the quiz section. I'm relieving Mimi because it seems it's having issues with our audio. So let's jump into the quiz section. And I hope we are all ready and are happy to participate in the quiz. So now I'll be sharing the quiz link and in the chat section. So join the quiz section on using this link. The link is right there in the chat. So I'm expecting everyone to join. Not able to join. Kenneth, what issues are you having? Participant limit exceeded. Oh, participant limit exceeded. Oh, I see. I see. Okay, okay. So we are going to just go with the number. Apologies to everyone. We might have to just go with the number of people that are able to join. So apologies, you can always participate. We need to fix something against the so you can always join some other time. Okay, let's start now. I'll be clicking. How many people have joined? We have 7 players only. I have fun. I have Samuel, Joseph, Paul, Stanzi, and Lex, Winer, and Olix. Okay, so let's start the quiz now. Number one, this question. Okay, question number one says, what are the two methods of encryption available for securing data in Amazon S3, a popular AWS storage service? So option A is AES 128 encryption, then 256 encryption and server-side encryption. So let's see who will win it. We're having just 18 minutes, 16 minutes, 15, 14. You can't hear me? Oh, all right, the time is up. So let's show the answer. I want to see the winner. So the answer is server-side encryption, and we have three people right there. So let's see who will talk the larger number. Hello, Joseph. So let's go to next question. Lex and winner, you need to do better. Yes, you can't join because the limit of participant has exceeded. So let's get back to the next question. And was a question just two questions? Or was it just one question, Temitope, that you scheduled there? All right, let me stop sharing and get to fix. Just be on the line, everyone. Let's fix this. I think it's only one question that's available for. All right, guys, I've been able to we fixed the issue. So let's go back now to sharing that this slide. Just stay where you are. Don't go far. We have done with question 1, and we are going right away to question 2. So question 2 is, sorry, we have gone past it. Let's get back. Let's go back. Okay. So now we are at question 1, which have already been started. Quiz question still running. Are you sure you want to? Okay. This is question 2. So question 2 says, what is the primary purpose of enabling versioning for an S3 bucket? So let's see who will be the winner. So the winner is to prevent accidental deletion or modification of object. Let's see who top the leaderboard. Question 1 and 2. Hold on. Why is it telling me? Is there anywhere the quiz has been started? Sorry, guys, we need to. So, okay, let's go with this question. We're going to go back and review the other one. What are the 2 available modes for configuring object lock in S3? Governance and compliance, the legal hold and governance mode, compliance and retention period, glacial vault, and governance. So the question is, the answer is governance and compliance. This question, it doesn't take us to data board. So let's get ready for another one. What is the primary purpose of an S3 lifecycle policy? I guess the answer, the final one will come up at the end of the day. So let's get this one. So let's see. We have to automatically transition or delete object based on defined. So question number 4 of 7. This question is rewarded. Okay. So what are the different storage classes available in Amazon S3 designed to suit various data access patterns and cost requirement? So we have S3 standard, S3 intelligent tiering, S3 glacier, S3 deep archive. So S3 standard, S3 one zone AI, IA, that is infrequent access, S3 glacier, and S3 freezer. So we have S3 core storage, S3 archive, S3 nearline, and S3 inactive. So we have the last option is S3 hot storage, S3 cold storage, and S3 freeze, S3 absolute. So which of them is, what are the different storage classes available in an Amazon S3, designed to suit various access parent and cost requirement? So let's see. 6 people got this right. Okay, that's good. It's not taking us to the leaderboard, but we might get that at the end of the day. So the question number 5 is, what AWS service allows you to easily host static websites such as HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files without the need for traditional web servers? Is it an EC2 instance? Is it an RDS, AWS Lambda, or is it S3? So choose the one that suits your choice. So let's get there. So 4 minutes, 3. Okay, let's see how many people got this right. So almost 7 people got it right. That was a simple question, a bonus question for everyone. Okay, now 6 of 7.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Mimi, we can hear you now. We are back.
Okay.
All right. So now why is AWS S3 not considered a dynamic storage service? Option A is AWS S3 is designed exclusively for archival storage. B is AWS S3 does not support data encryption. C is AWS S3 primarily focuses on high-speed data processing. And S3 is an object storage service with eventual consistency. So Sam, most people are giving okay, maybe sad faces. So we have let's go there. So we have 4 people get this right. Okay, let's go to the last question in our list. What are the 2 methods of encryption available for securing data in Amazon S3, a popular S3 AWS storage service? So I think this question is repeated and we have answered it before. Okay, let's just see those who will get it again. So while that is server-side encryption, oh, okay, right, B. Oh, we still have people we can pick from the chat section, but that would be very difficult to measure who is the winner or the loser. So let's go to the last answer. 4 people got this right, while 4 people failed it. Now the final one is someone through the top, and he will likely be the winner because this is the last question. So let's show the winner. So the winner is Samuel with 675 points. So Samuel, you are the winner for today's quiz, and we would like you to share your data with us via an email. I will paste the email right away in the chat section. So congratulations, Samuel, and good luck. I will implore you to use your AWS credit judiciously by using it to build and test on the AWS cloud. So Samuel, send your LinkedIn profile, your Twitter handle, and your full name. If I think your name is Samuel Joseph, so send that to the email in the chat section. I'm just pasting that now. So the email is right there in the chat section. Share that information with us. It's a way of recognizing and celebrating you further on our social media pages. So thank you everyone for your time. Mimi, do you have anything to say to your audience? I'm just relieving you. Mimi, are you there? All right. So guys, thank you and see you same time, 6 p.m. tomorrow and next week as we continue in this study series. I hope you have a good learning experience at the end of this study series. So goodbye and have a blessed evening. Bye.